and welcome to another episode of the Take a Pull podcast, episode 7. Back with Declan Carroll here again. Andy Cummins, how are you, Dec?
Good, Andy. Yourself?
Yeah, no complaints. Just back from a nice weekend away. So I saw
Nice.
you kept the page rolling on Twitter anyway, which was the good thing. So
got a few selections up. Yeah, it wasn't bad on Sunday. We 2 winners at Cork on Sunday, but we drew a blank yesterday, which is rare for us, to be fair.
It was probably due, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And look, it doesn't matter. We keep on ploughing on. Some nice enough performances as well that we can probably recap at a slightly later time, so we have a packed show here. Thursday's meeting from Clonmel, which includes the return of Allaho in the Clonmel Oil Chase and a decent Mares Chase as well on that card. Some nice maiden hurdles in there too. And then the Friday of Down Royal, Down Royal's Champion Chase Festival. We're going to call it for 2 days. Champion Chase meeting. Which will be on Tap 8, by the way. So that'll be our next recording Saturday, getting its own podcast. We're going to bring you to Friday here, and I suppose the Grade 3 Bottle Green Hurdle is probably going to be the main event that will see the seasonal reappearance of Irish Point.
Is that the old WKD hurdle?
It was the old Wicked hurdle, yeah. That's the very same, the blue alcoholic drink, yeah. But there's a decent beginner's chase on that card as well. The penultimate race on their card, which I think sees the the chasing debut of Found of 50, among others. So it's a really, really good 2 days racing that we're going to be covering for you guys here. And without further ado, I won't hang around, Deck. We'll get straight into it. Straight to Clonmel for their first race. This is a maiden hurdle, the Irish Stallion Owners EBF maiden hurdle, over 2.5 or just a little bit less than 2.5 miles. It's going to see the hurdling debut of a decent bumper horse, 6-year-old already though, Irish Panther, who was seen chasing home the likes of Ballyburn and the what's the word I'm looking for? Walkaway Harry. Yeah, I'm going to think of that word, but I'll have to wait for him in a handicap, as I said. I think I've mentioned him on every single show. Implicit in here as well for Willie Mullins, authorised mare, authorised, who's gotten many good jumpers in the past, including one of my old favourites, Nichols Canyon. So a really, decent enough maiden hurdle. Probably no surprise to see Irish Panther starting over this trip, given his age and the type of bumpers that he ran in last year. I think he finished it was a 2.25 mile bumper at the Punchestown Festival. Dec, where do you see here? This is pretty. There's 3 or 4 in here that could easily make the mark.
Yeah, but I do like to see at the top of the market. Obviously, as you said, Irish Panther. He ran well. He hit the bar, didn't he? In 3 good bumpers. He was behind Fact to File, I think, at Christmas. And walk away Ballyborn, then walk away Harry. He did improve past Quantum Storm, who was the betting was quite funny that day. I was at Punchestown when Ballyborn won, because it was a 3-horse race, and I think they were all probably favourite at one stage, but he finished 3rd there. He did improve past Quantum Storm at the Punchestown Festival then, but I probably side with Farthing Glory. It was an interesting jump debut he made. He was beating 36 lengths in the Grade 2 at Fairyhouse at Easter. He did win a good bumper though, and it's probably the fact that he won a bumper, whereas Irish Panther hit the bar 3 times, that I'm going with him. It was a decent enough bumper. He beat Mint Boy, the horse that was second. The name's gone from me, Exploration or something like that.
It's Extrapolation. That's what you're looking for.
He has won since. And Mint Boy has won. We covered Mint Boy a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he probably disappointed, but I do think it's a decent bumper. It's probably not a race I get involved in. I wouldn't be, jumping to have a bet in it, but it's it's a nice race to watch, isn't it? And hopefully we'll find many winners from it. Like, even we know about those 2, but the others you have mentioned we don't know much about. But it is a difficult one to get involved in. I am looking forward to seeing Farthing Glory. Look, that could have really sharpened up his jumping, running in the Grade 2 where he's quite experienced. he could just be better than the rest of them tomorrow and win it.
Yeah, probably shows you what they may have thought of him. All right, he's currently around your 7-4 second favorite. I suppose the logic is a lot of people do like Ballyburn, and it goes without saying, like he just looks like a potentially top draw novice this season to go hurdling with. A kind of an end-to-end galloper who ran keen, but just found at the end of his races. I could go off on a tangent how, how Ballyburn is now 2 miler, because I seem to be in the minority there, and we've gotten conflicting reports from unnecessary stable tours in the last couple of weeks, just showing you how much they're worth really. But I think Irish Panther at even money, I would say it's the right price. I think that the form that he's shown in that bumper, in those bumpers, it's reliable. But obviously he has to go and jump. I don't think that will be an issue. Seeing as he was second in a point-to-point as a much younger horse, it just kind of, like, he's obviously had problems, but just kind of annoys me that he makes his hurdling debut at the age of 6 after running in a point-to-point at 4. I'll just never ever get it. I'll never understand it. But look, I think he's probably the right favourite. Farron Glory, it is very noticeable, Deck, that he did debut in a Group 2, but he was beaten 37 lengths by Nick Rocca, who was kind of a late bloomer last season. I'm not really sure of the strength and depth that was in behind him. I know Deep Cave and Parmenion were, it's probably fair to say they were a little bit underwhelming. Deep Cave especially, who made a very promising start to his hurdles career. The Company Sergeant's a nice yardstick, who was second that day. But you wouldn't be like standing up and taking note of the form. I think it's the fact that they just debuted him in a Grade 2 is what kind of catches the eye. And then obviously the other one that deserves a mention is Implicit, as I said, the mare. You'd be taking a serious leap of faith. She'd want to be, she'd want to be graded class to probably win this on her first ever race course run. I think she's 2 very, very tough horses to beat there. But if she's placed, she's one that could rock up in a maiden hurdle at Leopardstown or Limerick at Christmas and probably just win. You'd be probably back in a favourite, but you'd probably be back in a winning favourite. So with that, I'm going to stick with Irish Panther, Deck. I think he's probably the one to be on here. And you're with Farron Glory, is it?
I go with Farron Glory, but look, it's not a race I probably won't be having a bet in. I wouldn't be encouraging anyone to have a bet on what we said, really, because it's a race we're going to probably be looking back on and finding winners in the future.
Most likely. All right, then. Well, on to the second race, the 105, the Connolly's Red Mills Irish EBF Auction Maiden Hurdle. These are races that you've said you've liked in the past, Deck. Usually, horses they usually get handicap marks below 120, sometimes even below 110. And then the ones that are beaten a little bit further back get marks in the double digits. But you very often see horses graduate from these sort of races and run up quick sequences and handicaps. You get usually 3, 4, 5 a year over various trips. Theatre Native is going to be your odds-on favourite. She was she ran well. She was beaten favourite in a bumper. Probably not the strongest bumper in the world for a listed bumper. Tiger Bay Queen winning it. Miss Augusta, who's disappointed a few times since in second. But again, she was sent off favourite for a listed bumper on her first ever run. So again, it's kind of similar to Farron Glory in a way in the first race. She's just coming back from decent races, albeit this time it's a bumper to a hurdle. Pamper Lady, who is fairly well experienced, has kind of suffered from a few jumping issues. Obviously falling last time out, but was kind of getting nudged along, but wasn't going really too badly at the time. She probably wouldn't have beaten Brighter Days Ahead, but she probably would have been placed. Dak, this is a pretty difficult puzzle outside, unless you think the favourite's just going to go and win. But I don't know if 4 to 6 is much value really here.
No, I like Pamper Lady. I don't think she was running a bad race at all when she came down at Tortoise. Obviously, she needs to iron that out. But if there's one way of learning, it's having a fall, isn't it? They don't always like to do it again. But she was also second to Erdo's look at the stall. Her bumper form isn't great, and she does look like a horse who's transformed for jumping. So I'd expect her to, if the jumping issues are running out, I'd be expecting her to improve again. I think she could be big danger to the favourite here. I do think she's running a nice race at Tortoise, and that second is decent enough form at the stall. I think she's going to take another step forward.
Yeah. All right. That's interesting now. Yeah, no, it's hard to try and even find something to run into the places here. Like just having a quick look. Rockavango is making his Irish debut after running for Ian Williams in the UK. Actually, it's not an Irish debut. It's actually coming back to the same trainer, M Lynch. And M Lynch, I've never actually heard of him, funny enough. Look, I don't think there's really anything outside. This isn't going to be a race that I'm going to get too involved in. I do like a Theatre Native as maybe a proposition going forward, but I think they may have just found a good opportunity for her here. I can see the argument with Pamper Lady, but again, as you said, she does need to probably just iron out those issues. But yeah, I think the track could suit her as well, though.
Yeah, I think like if you're that way inclined, it's probably a safe each way bet because not many of them are going to want to run into a place, are they? Where she's obviously going to be trying. She's already been second, and she was definitely getting involved the last day. So if you're the person that bets each way in 7-1 shots, I think it's a safe enough each way there.
Yeah, but look, I wouldn't put anyone off that. But yeah, no, it'd be one that I'll just probably be watching deck, to be honest with you. Moving on then to the 140, and we're getting into the handicap hurdles now. The Clonmel Oil Service Station handicap hurdle over 3 miles. Quite a few veterans in here kind of having their first run of the campaign. Obviously Ronald Pump, it's great to see him. He had a spin on the flat, but it is great to see him continuing on at 50 to 1. He'd been pointing. Oh, sorry, it was pointing, not flat. Sorry, yeah. You always see the blacker numbers on the form, and I always think of the all weather. But no, of course, look, I still kind of find it mad that they still persevered chasing him. I know he won on his chasing debut, but he's always kind of probably been a better hurdler. Great to see him though, back up again. Boys de Clermont, another one. The big galloper, hasn't seen him in a very, very long time. Also good to see him back. He was actually winning when we saw him about 2 years ago. And then an old friend of the show, Fully Charged, who I don't think he is really what he was. Castlefield Boydo deck, who's on a roll, even money after winning his last 2, beating the reopposing What's Available last time out. Do you see any way past him at evens there?
Yeah, definitely. Look, he was actually one of ours the last day when he won. It was here, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And look, it was bottomless that day, and he saved ground the whole way around, stuck to the rail where the whole field came down the middle of the track, and just got there in the end. But he's gone up again now. Look, Angel's the 138 of her fences.
Yeah,
but she was a nice novice hurdler. She may not have. I don't think she ran in a handicap, but she ran in grade 3s, maybe a grade 2. She placed in the field. She won a maiden hurdle. She could be thrown in here off 118. Normally we look at these horses and they're just no good over hurdles, but she wasn't a bad novice hurdler at all, and she's kind of a late developer. Like what we seen her do in the second half of the season last year was really, really good. And to back it up in the Irish Grand National and finish 6th, I thought that was a massive performance. Obviously she's won the Kinmore. I think she's going to be a big, big danger. I did have a look at Stussakini too. Like he chased home Sequestered at Galway. That was 9 lengths ahead of the third, but it wasn't a handicap. It was a novice. And maybe the fact that he hasn't been nudged up for that run, maybe the handicapper thinks he might have him on 126. And now I like Angel Song here off 118.
Will she be fit enough to do herself justice?
Well, see, that's the thing. But what did that run the last day take out of the favourite? Because it was absolutely bottomless. Like it was just about raceable, I'd say, that day. They probably wouldn't have raced in England on that ground. But look, if she's fit enough, she's £20 well in. She's not £20 well in. She's £20 below our peak chase mark.
Yeah.
But she was a decent novice hurdler, I don't think she was a bad hurdler at all. So I definitely think she's a big, big chance.
Very good. Yeah, I would always be, especially with the 3 miles in very, very testing ground, I'd usually be more inclined to usually go with older horses, especially in handicaps. The one that kind of took my eye at a bigger price was Ballyadam Destiny towards the bottom. Ran behind a few of these at Galway last time out, behind Buddy One, who's a very nice horse we spoke about before for the Gilligans. Look, I don't think testing ground should be too much of an issue. And he's ran well over the trip before. Like he's been placed at Limerick at Christmas time, and you can't really find much worse ground than that if you tried. He's in off 114, back up to 3 miles, and I just think he could run into a place. I'd say he's a little bit vulnerable for win purposes. Like if Angels Dawn's ready to roll, like you said, Dex, he could take all the beating in the world, and Castlefield Boy is clearly thriving at the moment. Although I couldn't justify backing him really at even money. The question mark maybe around him is just, has he gone too far up in the weights? But he did beat what's available quite easily. I'd still be having reservations about even money, especially when you kind of cross the 120 mark. You can often just run into a slightly better standard of horse, and you're carrying that little bit more weight as well. If you don't, so. The one I'm going to have a little chance on is Ballyadam Destiny. Like he's some fair place form, back up to 3 miles, and I just think that, I think he should just run into a place. I don't think there's too much behind Angels Dawn or the favourite Castlefield Boy. So I just think Ballyadam Destiny might be one that could run a big race at 20-1 there. So a little each way bet. And Deck, you're going to stick with Angels Dawn, yeah?
I'm sticking with Angels Dawn. Now look, bit of it, those hold a special place after last year.
I recall.
You know, I was big on her for the Kim. Well, actually, I wanted her to go to the Midland National. I think she's absolutely pissed at, but she got the job.
She would have absolutely bolted in for that, I'd say.
Yeah, she got the job done anyway. But yeah, look, I it's just the fact that I don't think she was a bad hurdler at all, and that £20 is probably worth it, like,
Yeah, no, that's a fair enough assessment. On to our first, it's not graded action, it's listed action actually. Rare enough you do get listed races over the obstacles, but here we are. The TA Morris Memorial Irish EBF Mares Chase. It's a listed race just over 2.5 miles, and we have a quintet going to the field or going to post here, and we've 3 to have a chance, really. Well done to connections of Regina Dracones and Hazel Hatch Lady. If anything happens to one of the front 3, you might get a little bit of black type, but the worst you're coming home with is 550 quid for completing. So it's not a bad old day out, I suppose. If you can finish 4th, you get 1,100 quid. So you could spend your days doing worse stuff. Allegory de Vassi 6-5. And Mascada 13-8. Those 2 are going to dominate the field. They're 2 horses that seemingly dominate Twitter all the time.
Yeah.
And we do have Instit as well, at 11-4, who started off her chasing career. You'd have to say very, very patchy, but she did warm up to the task as the season went on, and ended up with a rating of 142. And bear in mind, she is only a 5-year-old. So that is quite an interesting angle. So before I have quite a speech prepared anyway for one of the runners in this race, Deck. But before I go ahead, I'll let you go first. What do you think of this race?
Well, I know what you're saying. I do fully agree with you, but like Allaho de Vassi, she was well held by Instit on her last 2 runs. She gave her £8 and £5. She's to give her £11 now. I don't know. Is it a hype that has her shorter than Instit? Because Instit's a 5-year-old who's slowly improving. Our chase record is actually quite good. I think she might have only been beaten once or twice when she was second when Allaho de Vassi was third, and I think she was beaten by Bride's Hill. But
she was.
She's slowly improving. I think she's going to be very, very difficult to beat here. I think she's the best horse in the race. Mascada.
Or do you think she just be one of the best?
At the weights, but Allaho de Vassi has to prove she's a better horse than Insta off levels as well, because on the last 2 runs, you wouldn't say. I know they came after Cheltenham and form can be, out of place, but it was only £5 she gave her one of the days, and she was beaten, and this is an improving 5-year-old. Mascata gets £10 from Allaho Vesey. She won at Limerick last Christmas, and then she's won at Cheltenham, both on soft ground. I think she was poor in between. She's been spoken about like a grade 1 horse, but has she ran in? Is this the highest level she's ran at? Listed company.
Mascata.
Yeah.
On her stable debut for Henry de Bromhead, which was just after she came from England, she actually did run in the 2-mile novice chase behind Blue Lord. She was beaten about 13 lengths, but never ever really, like, she was struggling from an early get-go. So
yeah, look, it's instant for me. Definitely at the weight, she's the best horse here, but I think Allaho Vesey has instant a 5-year-old improving, even if it was off levels, I might still be siding with her. Look, go on, you can have your rant about.
It's not necessarily a rant. Well, look, maybe it is. I don't know. I agree with you. I think Insta is the one to. I think the 11-4 is real value here. As I said, I love the younger horses. I know the ground is heavy, so I kind of am contradicting myself a little bit. But the only difference here is it's a graded race, or a listed race, and especially when they're carrying that little bit less weight, I think it's harder for younger horses, especially in handicaps. But when you have the graded action, it's if they have a high amount of ability, and especially if they're not carrying, the likes of Allaho Vesey's 11 stone 5, I think it does benefit them. So yeah, my rant or my plan, I would love to get answers basically. Mascata is a horse that's been talked about for the Mare's Chase, and I'm struggling to piece it together. Like, I understand she's 25-1, but we saw hype horses on Twitter in the past. You literally only have to say, we could sit here and pretend a horse is a champion bumper bound, a horse that doesn't exist, and we could probably get it quoted and down to 14-1 if we pushed it enough on Twitter. But this thing has been 25-1 consistently, and the bookies haven't budged an inch, and I'd say they're happy to take every single penny at 25-1. And it's mainly because I think her performance in the Grand Annual is a complete anomaly. She doesn't consistently jump well. Before she won the Grand Annual, she struggled at Leopardstown, and before that, in between that, she was winning at Limerick and then struggled at Fairyhouse. She fell, and she made multiple mistakes that day. She travelled well at Fairyhouse, but she made one mistake too many. My first hunch is she possibly ground dependent? Does she need really, really testing ground? My second is she rated 151? She won the Grand Annual and got £9 for it, but I think she'd have been kind of pox to beat Dino Blue, who basically body slammed the last 2 fences and was still second, and then subsequently won. I think she won at Fairyhouse and Punchestown. If those two reopposed each other at the current handicap weights, which would be Dino Blue giving Mascata £4, I would be backing Dino Blue 8 days a week. I think if Dino Blue had not made those mistakes, I don't think Mascata gets the £9. And when you look through the Grand Annual itself, and taking out Dino Blue, who, as I said, made all those mistakes and still managed to get up and finish second, you're looking at a pensioner in third and Global Citizen, who was regressing. Third Time Lucky, who was exposed. Final Orders, who, after winning at the Dublin Racing Festival, was probably exposed over this trip. Espon de who was regressing. Call Me Lyrene, who was regressing. Andy Dufresne, who, made a nice return over hurdles this season, but wasn't showing much over fences prior to that. And then you're getting down to Elixir de Nuts, who was beaten 28 lengths in 9th. So horses that tend to win at the Cheltenham Festival, people remember, which is absolutely fair enough. That is fine. But to say that this mare is a 151 rated mare and is going to be going and winning a graded chase, even if it's mares only at the Cheltenham Festival, against the likes of Dino Blue, even against the likes of Allaho Vesey off what's going to be significantly less than what she's getting £10 today. She won't be getting £10 in March. And even Insta, a 5-year-old who could be improving, I know you're getting 25-1, but I think you're hanging your hat on one piece of form, which I don't even think is strong, and that's my issue here.
Just Andy, I've seen a lot of people talk about her winning the Mayor's Chase, but I've seen absolutely nobody say they're going to empty the wheelbarrow on her tomorrow. And I can't understand, if you think she wins the Mayor's Chase, why you're not punting the ears off her tomorrow. Or do you think she wins the Mayor's Chase, or are you just looking for what you perceive as value? You know, it's 25-1. She won at Cheltenham. Look at my ticket, you know, because like, take all your money, back her tomorrow, and then back her to win in Cheltenham. You know, I don't understand why you wouldn't be. She's getting £10 tomorrow. Why you wouldn't be punting the ears off her if you genuinely think she's going to win? Like, do you think she's going to win in March, or are you just looking to have as many 25-1 shots as possible, whether they run or not, or whether they're any use or not? But like, we had this with Iroko yesterday, and it was a good performance, but you know, people are inclined to think just because you've won at the Cheltenham Festival, you're a Grade 1 horse, and that's not the case. Like, you know, these are horses. They both won handicaps. Now Rocco's still time to develop into a lovely chaser. But you know, people were talking about his performance yesterday like he won a Grade 1. He didn't. He beat something from France we know nothing about, making his British debut, and
after a year and a half off.
After a year and a half off, like he's beaten by Trillion. Look, he's beaten well, but you know, people are losing their mind over it. You know, we've seen people losing their mind over Johnny Hu the weekend, but nobody mentioned Solitary Man winning, who gave the horse Johnny Hu be £8 or something, and a good walloping by 26 lengths, like, you know. But look, if that's, you know, if people want to blow their money on these, you know, I just can't understand why you're backing her to win a race in March. She's running tomorrow. How would you want on her tomorrow? Like, if that's what you think, like, because she mightn't turn up in March, and as you said, she's probably not good enough because the rating is probably false.
Yeah, there's two horses that I do very much like in the mare's picture this year. Well, actually, there's three, because I actually quite like Instit as well. The other one is of Gavin Cromwell's Limerick Lace, but Instit is absolutely beating her out of sight, actually. But she made a fantastic return to action already this season. I think it was Thurles, or may have even been Clonmel, actually. It was Thurles or Clonmel.
On that card, yeah.
Yeah, she made a mare that never went well fresh. And it could be an improving 6-year-old. And then Gavin Cromwell's other novice, who I was actually knocking maybe the form in behind her a bit that day until the runner-up went and won at Galway, Allaho, who I think you should keep a very close eye on. She made a very smart winning chase and debut, although she has to improve quite a lot, but who's to know, she might just do it. Yeah, no, it'd be Instit here for me, 11-4. I think Allegory Devassi, I have a feeling that I wouldn't be surprised if she's very well punted tomorrow and goes off a shade of odds on. But I think even with the penalty, but I think Instit is the one to be with here, especially off 10 stone 8. Perfect. Well, on to the main event then, Deck, of Clonmel. This is only 4 going to post, but it's the Clonmel Oil Chase Grade 2. It's the return of the dual Ryanair Chase winner, Allaho. Brilliant to see him back. Pity got injured last season, but look, what can you do? He was so brilliant at Punchestown and beating Clan des Obeaux in the Punchestown Gold Cup when last seen. He's now rising 10 years of age, but look, I would imagine if he's all the good after his injury, he should be still somewhere near the peak of his powers. It would probably be unfair to ask him to be at the peak of his powers here in the Clonmel Oil. He mightn't need to be, but he mightn't need to be too far off it. French Dynamite is a very, very capable horse in his day as well. He's in here at 5-1. Has a decent record fresh as well, which should be noted, but he might be a horse that prefers better ground. And then we have Yanadil, who returned from injury to win at Gowran Chase, beating Uan Kalor last season in the Red Mills Chase. The season kind of got away from him then. He was well beaten by Envoy Allen in the Ryanair. before falling behind, or he fell with the race at his mercy, I think, against Easy Game, didn't he? He fell at the last.
Oh, he was 6 or 7 lengths in front.
He was home. He was home and hose, wasn't he? That was a pretty big performance. I would have really fancied Janadil here if he didn't have to give Allaho £5, which I think is what swings it. Should he be 5-1? Allaho be 2-7, especially after the absence. The bet might tell you a better story closer to the off, and then there's obviously Grange Walk, who's collecting minimum €2,400 here. So congratulations to connections there. No mug in his own right, rated 143, but and 143 might even make you competitive in graded races if you placed him well enough. But he shouldn't really be having a prayer here. Deck, what do you like here? I know only 4 runners, but still competitive and interesting.
Oh, well, look there. It's probably it's like a grade 1 chase, isn't it? It'd be grade 1 chase in certain parts of the world. Allaho, he's very, very short. You couldn't be getting involved. He's a big horse as well. So you'd imagine, he's entitled to take this run, isn't he? Like, especially the way he races. I think it's a silly price, but brilliant to see him back. And you hope he returned to what he was, because he was a fabulous horse to watch. Big horse going from fence to fence. That performance at Punchestown was absolutely brilliant. But if I was going to have a bet, I'd be taking him on tomorrow. Janadil, he was always threatening to be top class, but he could just never put it together at the right time, could he? Like, he could be very, very good, but when you'd expect it on the big day, it just wouldn't happen for him, and he could be awful. And he does have to give weight away. If I was going to have a bet, it'd be French Dynamite. Like the Fort and the Ryanair, I think there's still a bit of improvement in French Dynamite as well. I think he's a really, really likeable horse. He's probably a little bit underrated. And look, as you said, he goes well fresh. So if I was forced to have a bet, I'd probably be siding with French Dynamite. But I'm happy just to see Allaho back, and hopefully puts in a good round of jumping and signs that he can return to what he was.
Yeah, I would have actually liked. I'd have liked to see French Dynamite in the Grand Sefton at the weekend at Aintree. Now he didn't get an injury. He didn't get an entry. I just would have. It's just a horse I just like to see over the national fences. Not in a Grand National itself. I don't think he get the trip, but maybe in one of the 2.5 mile, like maybe the Topham or the Grand Sefton. I just think he'd take well to that sort of test. Maybe in the future, we never know. I would have liked French Dynamite myself here, but I think he's quite ground dependent. I think the heavy ground could really, I think he'd struggle here now. Look, do I want to back Janadil? I can't in my right mind do it. I can't, like, I don't think there's enough juice in the 5-1. And I do remember the reports of him being, really looking like he was going to need the run at Gowran and still winning anyway. And maybe off levels I'd have taken it, but I think just giving away £5 to a horse like Allaho, it's a big ask. So I'm just going to sit back and watch this, and maybe we can learn for the future. Wonder how many of these will rock up in the Durkin now. I know it's a bit earlier this year, isn't it now? Because the Punchestown the way
it's a bit earlier, yeah. So it's the end of November, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be the Lexus for most of these, possibly, or maybe.
Yeah, I'd love to see Allaho in the Lexus. Although I think he disappointed in his beginner's chase at Leopardstown, didn't he?
I think he was beaten by Easy Game.
Easy Game, yeah.
I think it was Easy Game, yeah, and he was only a 5-year-old at the time. Like,
that's 2 mile 6 beginner's chase.
That 2 mile 5 or thereabouts, yeah. Look, it was probably no shame going down to Easy Game that day, but I don't know if he's actually ran at Leopardstown since, now that you mention it. Right, so I suppose we'll move on with, like, it's an interesting race, and it's good to see Allaho back. Onto the 325.
But it's not what this podcast is about.
Exactly. This is what this podcast is about. It's a not to 102 Prior Park Service Station Clonmel handicap chase. Bloody hell, this isn't easy. No, only 10 runners going to post. King's Halo just shading favoritism at the minute at around 11-4 for James Daniel Delia. no fodder there, but I wouldn't say they do fodder. So, and then Aidan May for Charles Burns. He's in his last 3 runs, he's either been pulled up or she's either been pulled up or she wins. So just to make life that little bit easier for us all. What mood is she in? Kind of like basically what pulled up second, pulled up first, pulled up like that. If you've ever seen an L one in horse form, it's either she wins or she doesn't. And then Barboa Queen as well. Look, a lot of these have question marks. It's unsurprising given that the level that they're at, deck. But what do you fancy here?
Look, I can see why, King Taylor was definitely interesting. He's a really lightly raced 8-year-old. He won off this mark over hurdles, and he was second in the chase off 89. He's in here off 90. But he's a bit short. Now, in saying that, it was tricky enough. Every step of the way was a horse who went into my tracker. I think it's after maybe a maiden run at Nice. He might have gone through our auction. I can't remember now, but he did go into my tracker. Look, he's a 5-year-old making his chase debut. He hasn't won over hurdles. He's not from 7. But he was toured off 93 in a hurdle. He's in here off 91. But I'm siding with the John Ryan mare, Barbaha Queen. She has won over hurdles. It was a maiden. It was at Clonmel. And she was also toured here off 92. She was second in the chase off this mark, 85. This is our third chase.
Right.
She seems to like it here. I think she's going to give it a good go tomorrow. Have we prices for this? Yeah, did you see it?
Oh, do I have prices? I do. Who was there, Deck? Sorry?
Barbaha Queen.
Barbaha Queen. You're looking at about 6 to 1.
6 to 1, yeah. No, look, she obviously likes it here. She won her maiden here. She was toured here off 92. She's running off 85 tomorrow over fences. And she has been second off this mark, so she's capable. It's early days, only a third chase, so I definitely think she's a good chance tomorrow. But it was probably the fact that she's won here that swayed me over the McKiernan horse every step of the way. But I do think he'll have his day. I think he'll have his day pretty soon.
Okay, very good. The one I quite like too is just been improving steadily with every run. You'll notice the colours and you remember the colours, and you'll probably your ears are perk when you know that when you hear the name Master McBlack. In no relation. I checked the dam just to see if it was a half brother or anything to Master McShee, but it wasn't. Paddy Corkery, it must be this must be the one horse or two, or maybe one of 2 horses he's training this year. Very, very lightly raced. Has only had 6 races under rules. Failed to win over hurdles, but was placed. And yeah, I just thought that the 2 runs over fences behind Captain Combi at Killarney, which was look, he was only really out for skill in that day. Showed a lot more though at Tramore. Like he was kind of pitching until he kind of felt the pinch behind Croy Corcoran of a mare for Colin Bowe. I don't, it's hard to kind of put a figure on where the form is. 97 is probably about fair. Softer ground should be absolutely fine, but Jack Gilligan taking off the 7 is nice as well. I just thought he shaped quite well at Clonmel. Returns here over slightly shorter trip, and sorry, it was actually Tramore, not Clonmel, but returns here off over a slightly shorter trip. And I just think that handicap debut very, very unexposed. I don't see what Paddy would be doing other than trying to win. So I think at around 10 to 1 he's a nice price. So that's Master McBlack, and then deck for yourself. It was Barboa Queen, was it?
That's the one, yeah.
Barboa Queen, brilliant, lovely. Right, moving on to the bumper. I wouldn't say there's going to be too much deck to really speak about here. The prior park service, the watch racing TV, free for 31 days, flat race. This is going to be tough. Forever Walking 6 to 5, Rainbow Trail 15 to 8. It came from the point to point field, the kind of usual for Gordon Elliott. Do you have any opinion on this bumper deck?
No, I Gordon's been second in a point. I think Willie's has won a point. No, I've
No.
no interest in trying to predict what's going to happen here or having a bet. But watch it and hopefully there's a good one in there.
Yeah, Mare's Bumper. None of them coming back from hurdles either.
No,
Not a Mare's Bumper. A lot of mares in it though.
Yeah. No, I looked to see was there any been hurdling, but
yeah, Forever Walking in the old Florida Pearl colours. Won his point, and 6-5. Hopefully we don't see a full season of him chasing though. 571 days to overcome, but Willie Mullins, who you just know Willie's horses always take all the beating in a bumper. But look, we wouldn't be sitting here telling you this. That's a waste of time. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So without further ado, Deck, we'll fly over to the first day of the Down Royal, the Champion Chase weekend or festival. And this is another fairly decent card. We'll start with the Irish Stallion Farms EBF Maiden Hurdle over 2 miles 6, and this is a race we've kind of painted as maybe you don't want your hype horse kind of starting here. I've always been of the opinion that if you have a really, really good horse, like a horse that can win a point to point or a horse that can win a bumper, there's probably no reason to be starting them over 2 miles 6 furlongs and 110 yards. Surely they should be good enough to win over shorter. And it's Better Days Ahead, which is the horse that has gotten the nod for Gordon Elliott here, and it's the choice of Jack Kennedy. He was one of the many, many, many champion bumper favourites at one stage last year. Has a first-time tongue tie as well to go with his 2 mile 6 entry. There's look, I'm already kind of getting anxiety, kind of reading through the what could happen with this horse. But what do you think, Deck? Do you have any fans here?
Just there was a 2 mile 6 maiden hurdle at Punchestown on Morgiana Day. Now I think there's still a 2 mile 6 maiden hurdle, but I think this one was a sales race. It was one of these auction races. But Faheen won it, No More Heroes won it, Oscars Wells won it, and the Dig Out won it. Like a lot of really, really good horses won it. But I think, so it's not totally bad to have your horse starting over 2 mile 6, but they turned up in that race for a reason. And it must have been worth more money than other maidens. It must have been. I'm fairly certain it was where there was different criteria for it. You had to be sold for less than a certain amount. It was one of these races, So, but this race is not that race. That was one race at Punchestown on Morgiana Day, and it did throw up really, really good horses. I think American Mike ran in this.
He did.
Jumped like a Triceratops. Look, Better Days Ahead was actually a surprise second here last year. Well beaten the champion bumper. We have horses like Rust to Riches who's been chasing. Oh Jesus, the one I'd give a chance to, and you don't even know if the horse is going to be trying. It would be the Busy Phil.
Yeah, he's the one that my eye was drawn to straight away. It's like, Philip Rothwell with a first time out bumper winner. Okay.
Yeah,
it's not something you see every day. 28-1 as well.
Bumper winner at Tortoise. At least we know he has some ability, So
race fit as well.
Race fit, yeah. I will not be surprised to see Better Days Ahead be. I don't know whether I'm brave enough to back the Busy Phil though, because you'd have to see them circling, wouldn't you, before parting with your money? You'd have to watch whatever way they line up, or see how prominent the Busy Phil is. But if he is prominent, he could be a big surprise here.
Yeah, I think I'd just be comfortable having the field running for me. Brighter Days Ahead is likely going to be a shade of odds on. If not, like, he's not going to be much shorter than I would have thought 6-4. Especially given his profile. He's beat at this meeting last year. The race didn't look as strong at all. He only ran a 3-runner race, and Karen Funnock never necessarily look, he managed to win a handicap hurdle, I think, but it was in like the mid
air or
100,
something,
yeah, 110, like 115, 116. Like he was nothing special.
Yeah.
And look, better days ahead. He went on and won his bumper, beating another absolute headbanger in Chapeau de Sly or Desai or whatever his name was. I think he was just favoured for the champion bumper by default as well.
Because of the colours and the trainer.
Yeah, and he hung like a dodgy garden gate all day in that race. And yeah, better days ahead kind of just he won, but like you wouldn't have been your jaw wouldn't be on the floor or anything. And then he was beaten multiple lengths by a Dream to Share then in the champion bumper. If he's a shade of odds on, I'd just be laying him. I'd be very comfortable having the field running for me. As you said, the Busy Fool clearly has ability. And look, they're going hurdling with him straight away. So that's, it's always nice. And Henry de Bromhead has one in here that managed to win a point. Nos Nori. Look, we know he has ability as well. And then obviously we've Zafiro Dodville. Zaviro Dodville, who's a Rob Core horse. Same yard as Better Days Ahead, Gordon Elliott. Although was bitterly disappointing in a Fairy House bumper when beaten at odds on earlier this season. So he has questions to answer now, I suppose. But I just thought, given what Better Days Ahead did at this meeting last year, and given his profile that he kind of came into last season with, I'd be very happy just to have the field run for me and just lay him.
Fair enough.
So moving on to the deck then to 1252, and this is the Lock Construction Limited handicap hurdle over 3 miles, and it is 80 to 102. So unlucky if you're rated less than that, you'd be out of weights. And there's plenty in here actually carrying that 10 stone 6 now that you mention it. This is another fiercely competitive race. Plenty of horses that have fairly unexposed profiles in here too. Be very interesting to see Mark Walsh taking his ride on Hunt Museum for JP McManus and Francis Flood. It'll be Mark Walsh's first time riding this 5-year-old who's only had his 3 starts all over hurdles behind Spillans Tower, Canal End and Antrim Coast. It'd just be very interesting to see if the market speaks in any way loudly about him. I don't think he's ever been better than midfield in any of his races, and he's been given a mark of 98, so God knows. It might be next time out, but if the betting speaks...
It is a handicap debut.
It is a handicap debut, yeah.
Oh,
he's the one that you have to draw your eye to. Whenever you see Mark Walsh just jocked up on these unexposed ones, the market could speak very, very in favour of him, and if the market speaks, I wouldn't say they'd be a million miles off. What do you think, Dak? This is tough now, but you wouldn't want to be taking a chance on Hunt Museum just yet, I wouldn't imagine.
No, it is his handicap debut. All his runs have been over 2.5 miles. One of them was over 2-3. Definitely going to appreciate the step up and trip, but I do think he could need this. It could be a guy who won't get used to handicap and maybe the next day. Also, Spice David has 3 decent enough runs in maidens, keeping on over much shorter than this handicap debut again. So they'll be 2 I'll be keeping a close eye on. I'm going to take 2 here, if that's all right.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you.
Ballydangan. His best run in maidens was over 2 miles 6. I just forgive the handicap debut for reasons that were, obvious reasons we speak about all the time here. He did run a cracker then at Fairy House to finish second over 3 miles off 86. The run the last day was right back to 2 mile 3, but back to 3 miles now off 89. Could run a big race, a little bit more experience. Like maybe they went back and tripped the last day just to sharpen up the jumping, but just it was poor, put a line through it. As I said, like the best maiden run was 2 mile 6, and a good second handicap run was over 3 miles, was second. And then our Jervis has shown signs of improving over this trip. He did run a nice race on handicap debut. He was then pulled up actually behind Keandana at Downpatrick back in June, but that was on good ground, and the rest of his runs were yielding or softer. So I would definitely forgive that. Like if Keandana hacked up that day, the ground was fast. So I'd absolutely be forgiving that. Coming here with, ground in his favour again, another one who could run a big race. We don't have prices yet, but I'd be with Hunt Museum in here, I'd be expecting double figure odds about both days, maybe big odds about Air Jervis. Like you could be talking, 33s or 50s. Definitely worth it in each way though.
Yeah, no, fair enough, Deck. I couldn't really form an opinion. I couldn't take my eyes off Hunt Museum. And the reason why I think it could be Friday, it's solely because they're going straight up to 3 miles. Usually you would see a handicap run most likely at the same trip. So you'd be talking 2.5 miles. But with Mark Walsh up and straight up to 3 miles, I just have the feeling that it might be it might be Friday. I think his best run was probably behind Canal End because he was staying on nicely at Ferry House. I think that was at the Easter Festival. Like he came through beating horses, and you could just your eyes perked up. But you see the colors and you see the connections. You're just like, you'll probably never get a price. It would almost be just factored in. And look, he ran fine. He ran fine behind Splan's Tower. Again, got a lovely education. Came past a few beaten horses. The run behind Antrim Coast, he was very sticky, which was possibly a little bit disappointing. But that stickiness can maybe be negated by the fact that he's going up half a mile in trip. Now, obviously, in handicaps, you have to jump well. But I'm struggling to get away from him straight up and trip straight like this quickly. And with Mark Walsh up, I would have a feeling that I think they might just go for it. So I would take the chance on Hunt Museum, Deck. I'm not as brave as you trying to find two outsiders in. What was it? Spicy Diva and Ara Jervis, was it?
No, it was
Ballydangam, yeah.
Ballydangam boy, is it? And Air Jervis. No, Spicy Diva, first time in a handicap.
Oh, sorry, that was it. Yeah, no, fair enough. Okay. No, I'm probably going to take the chance on Hunt Museum and pray that I don't know if he could open up a silly price. I hope I'm not going to be sitting here looking at a 7-2 shot, but the bet will tell me pretty quickly if I'm on the right end of the gamble or not. Well, moving swiftly on, Deck, then to the 127. This is the return, I believe, of Irish Point. Or no, it's not. That's the next race. It's the Irish Stallion Farms EBF Feathered Lady Mares Novice Hurdle. It's a grade 3. Williamstown Dancer is going to be in here. Maybe your 11-4 second favourite. Could work out as value against the likely odds-on favourite Brighter Days Ahead, who was impressive in 2 bumpers and won without really any fuss at Thurles at 4-1 on. A decent maiden hurdler last year, Jatara, who was good in bumpers as well. She's rated 130. Her form petered off a little bit towards the springtime. Would be interesting to see her go fresh, 17-2. She sets a fairly decent standard at a rating of 130. She probably wouldn't be far off getting placed. And then there's Birdie or Bust for Henry de Bromhead. Rachel Blackmore has a little bit to find with Williamstown Dancer now. She was getting £4 off Williamstown Dancer that day, and she gets 7 now, so she should be a lot closer. And it's probably worth noting she's only ran 4 times in her life, so it could be quite interesting to see if there's any improvement there. Williamstown Dancer obviously having 8 career starts thus far, with plenty of bumper experience in there. Deck, what do you think here? This is it's not a bad race really for the grade. No. Plenty competitive enough. It'd be a good test for Brighter Days Ahead, I think.
Yeah, well, look, she won at 1-4 on debut, but it is really hard to know. We know we discussed the one that fell later on, but we don't like for winning at this level. We don't know an awful lot. Yeah, Williamstown Dancer has won at this level, and she's beaten Geldings. She beat Bialy Stock. She beat Samoy. She does have to carry the penalty for that, like, but she's beaten nice horses. And as you said, she, Birdie or Bust should be a lot closer with getting the extra £3 today. She's 4 lengths to find. I actually like Jatara. She was a listed bumper winner. She was second to High Definition and Astro Diamond over hurdles, and I'm just willing to forgive the runs in the spring. She had a tough season. She won that listed bumper on Tri-Town Day at Navan, and then she's gone hurdling, second to High Definition, second to Astro Diamond. I'm more than happy to put a line through those spring runs. Obviously Cheltenham, and was it Punchestown or Fairy House? It was
Fairy House.
I really, really like Jatara. I think she could be a classy filly. I'd say there's
a bit of scope in the handicap mark off 130. Like if she did return to that early season hurdles form that you were talking about, obviously Astro Diamond right up there in the betting for like the mare's hurdle, High Definition. Sorry,
they're breeders though, aren't they?
They are. Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, no, she won't be like. I wouldn't mind seeing her in that. Was it the Paddy Mullins mare's handicap hurdle?
The one on Leopardstown,
yeah. I think that. Yeah, but I know you're dead right though. You're dead right. They can be shy about that. They'd rather get the black type. And Michael O'Sullivan's up. There's two I quite like. I'd be interested to see if Birdie or Bust could. I'd be interested to see if she could reverse the form with Williamstown Dancer. Obviously, we alluded to the weight difference of weight. She now gets seven pounds instead of the 4. She just looked like she needed to run a little bit more. She just faded quite quickly after the last, and the fact that she's so lightly raced and might be. I just have a feeling that she might at least reverse the form of Williamstown Dancer, who's half the price she is. I'd be quite interested now in Birdie or Bust at 7-1, but there was one I tipped on the first episode of TAP, and it's Elliott Mare Airdrop, who is a 40-1 shot here, and she's no 40-1 shot if you're happy to just forgive her run behind Magical Zoe. She stopped very, very quickly. I can only put it down to the ground. It was her first time on very, very testing ground, and she just absolutely hated it. She was pulled up pretty quickly. I believe the ground is supposed to dry out. It is currently soft at Down Royal. I'm not sure if there's much more forecast rain deck.
Right.
So
they were underwater last week.
They were underwater last week, so yeah, I might be wasting my time, but she's an absolutely colossal price. If you just forgive her run at Down Royal. She's obviously gone up to Down Royal before that, and she's gone and won her maiden hurdle pretty comfortably. She'd obviously need to improve significantly on that, but the P next to her name is giving you 40-1. I think she is just worth a few shillings each way. I wouldn't say, like, I can understand mares running in races like this, but like she was obviously improving, and then I just put it down to the ground. 40-1 is, I'm happy to have a few shillings. I will back Birdie or Bust as well. I don't think Brighter Days Ahead is. I had a few questions with the way she jumped left, and I just think she was just too good that day to be really kind of inconvenienced. So I'm going to take on the favourite with Birdie or Bust, and I'm going to have a little bit on Airdrop as well. And Deck, you're on Jatara, yeah?
I am, yeah.
Happy days. Right, we'll move on to the 202. And this is the return of Irish Point, the Bottle Green Hurdle. We do have betting through for this. Irish Point is your 2-1 on favourite, so long odds on really to be winning this. He is challenged by Sir Alan, one of your old favourites, Deck, for Andrew Slattery, who's in here 14-1. I don't get it, who hasn't really a prayer. And look, to be honest, the main rival is going to be the mare Magical Zoe, who was I think she was a good second in the Dawn Run behind You Wear It Well, who won pretty nicely at, I think it was Wetherby last weekend. So that form is looking quite nice now. And she beat Say Goodbye at Gowran Park. I think Say Goodbye actually came out and won in the United States, if I'm not wrong. Or no, she ran in the United States. I don't think she won, though. I'd have to double check. No, she did win. She ran 2 races out in the United States, but she was beaten in the second one. So 2 very quick runs in quick enough succession out stateside for Say Goodbye. But she did manage to subsequently win in the States. I don't know if you'd really kind of call that enhanced form, really. But interesting to see how Say Goodbye was campaigned. So Magical Zoe in here 2-1. It's probably a 2-horse race deck, but where are you swinging?
We've seen a lot of surprises in this race over the years.
Oh yeah,
Sam Crow was beaten here.
Beaten by Bedrock, I think it was.
Bedrock, yeah.
Was it Ian Jardine, was it?
Ian Jardine, yeah. There's been a couple more. I can't think off the top of my head. And I am just like, I love Irish Point. I think he's very, very nice. I was a big fan of his last year. I was nice to see him when he ran the Sunday before Cheltenham. I'm just wondering though, is he vulnerable coming back to 2 miles carrying 12 stone here? He's definitely the best it is, but first run of the season, 12 stone, back to 2 miles. Now I know he was only beaten a short head by Marine National. Wasn't he second in the Royal Bond?
Wasn't Irish he? Point, yeah, he was only just touched off by Marine National, yeah.
You know, but I look, he won the Grade 1 over 2.5 miles at Aintree. I think he won at Naas that day. He was second to Cham Coyley in the Lawlers. I just wondered, he's a little bit vulnerable coming back to 2 miles. Magical Zoe, as you said, you know, she was, that form's working out really well now. The Mayor's Novice, You Wear It Well was quite impressive, and Gavin Sheehan's riding out of his skin at the moment. But he was really impressed for her the weekend. I thought it was a really good performance, and Magical Zoe was impressed on our seasonal debut. So Rallan should have gone chasing. I don't think he's a very good hurdler. I think he's a lovely horse, but he also won at Naas maybe back in February, and I think he'd done it despite his jumping. I would have loved to see him jump a fence as a 4-year-old turning 5. I think it could have been the makings of him. I thought David Garrick was very interesting. He was second to Pied Piper in this race last year, and he's won on the flat last month. He's getting lots of weight. I don't know lots about the horse, but you know what we've seen in the past with surprises, like he could be the one to spring it. You know, if Irish Point is not quite cooked and he's going to be vulnerable carrying that big weight coming back to 2 miles, like, do you know much about this fella?
No, like that was his last run over hurdles. Pied Piper did win it quite easily, and he has won. He won a Curragh handicap off a pretty basement mark. So the horse clearly in good heart.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a big ask, but stranger things have happened. As you said, he's getting over a stone.
You get a lot of
he's getting over a stone here from Irish Point, and he's getting weight from the mare as well. So look, stranger things have happened. If there was 8 runners, I think it'd have been a nice each way bet. But asking them to get the better of a race fit Magical Zoe or a Grade 1 winner in Irish Point, even getting a stone, I think is a bit of an ask.
Yeah, look, I might be trying to be too clever. Look, I am a massive fan of Irish Point, and you know, I hope he does turn into a really good horse. But I just thought it was interesting. First run over hurdles since second to Pied Piper, and he did win at the Curragh this month or last month. But look, it's not a race I'm really going to get involved in. I'm disappointed Sir Alan hasn't gone over fences.
Yeah, fair enough. Magical Zoe is getting what I think £12 there from Irish Point. She's race fit, and that makes her very slightly better at the weights. It puts her a pound clear of Irish Point.
Right.
Funny enough. I wouldn't be surprised if Irish Point took a run. As you said there, now obviously he managed to win first time out, albeit at 2-7. So he was a good early season horse. The only time he really ran
And he nearly
badly,
threw it away when he won on debut. He won his maiden. I think he was way out in front and nearly stopped.
I don't know. I think that might have been the no looking back race. He was kind of looking for the line in that one. That was at Natestow in March. I think he beat Splash Now kind of easily, and then he was kind of mullered by the fast finishing Marine Nationale and the Royal Bond. That Lawlers and Ace was a bit of a joke. They didn't really jump too many hurdles that day.
Yeah.
The only race he really ran badly in was behind Alette Tomp in December. Which kind of forced him to go back to the drawing board. Look, mightn't have been a bad thing for the horse. Look, he won 2 races subsequently and came away with a Grade 1 win at Aintree. Not every horse needs to go to Cheltenham as a novice. So, that might have been a blessing in disguise that he ran that bad race. But I think he's going to find it difficult to give £12 away to a race fit Magical Zoe. I thought they'd be a little bit closer in the betting. 2-1 versus 1-2. I would at those prices I'd side with the mare. I'm not saying now if they came up against each other in the spring, and when they come up against each other in the spring, Irish Point should really be only giving her £7 if it was Grade 1. And they're both race fit. I'd probably take Irish Point, but I think there's enough discrepancy in the prices and circumstances surrounding here that I think maybe back in the mare might be the play. And I wouldn't be surprised if the betting kind of told you that nearly off on Friday. So I'm going to stick with Magical Zoe. Deck, are you going to have a speculative on David Garrick, or are you going to leave him?
Yeah, look, I've no massive opinion. I'm disappointed Sir Alan didn't go chasing. Irish Point, I'm a big fan of, but we've seen funny results in this race. 12 stone back to 2 miles. I suppose there's been worse each way bets, hasn't there, than this? That
there has. Yeah, although if he gives the mare £12 in the beating and wins it doing handstands, suddenly you've got a horse that could be competitive at Grade 1 level over the 2, and maybe it's probably too quick of a turnaround for something like that in Grace, but stranger things have happened. Anyway, we'll move on, Deck, to handicap chase now. This is bear with me now, it's the Troy Racing TV for free now at racingtv.com/free trial. Handicap chase over the 2 miles, and we've got look again a strong enough field. We've got a horse on a great run of form at the minute in Paddy's Passion, who's won his last 3. Won her last year. I've done a Chris on it now of USO fame. She's won her last 3, mixing it between hurdles and fences as well. So she's been well campaigned by Dave Christie. Look, she probably does take all the beating here, Deck. Is it that simple though?
No. Look, she won her beginners and then she got a rating of 118. So they said, look, we go back and exploit this hurdle mark. So she's won off 105 of her hurdles the last day. I'm not sure. I probably General Dynamics is a difficult one to work out. He was third on his chase debut. It's his only chase to date. But his point-to-point form is very, very poor. So, can you not like point-to-points and love chasing? Like, I don't know. But he's rated 121. I like Irish Blaze. He won off 117 at Downpatrick. It was 12 lengths off Fighting Fit at the stall. That was Fighting Fit beating Barnacullia for the second time. He'd already beaten him at Galway. So I think that form is really, really solid. He's waited to reverse the form with Ross's horse by the same token. I think Irish Blaze is going to go. I think I'm more confident about Irish Blaze's chances than Paddy's Passions.
Irish Blaze is going to go from the front, isn't he? He only knows one way of going, really. Quite a bit of a tearaway, but no, I think that's going to suit him though. I think this test could really suit him back to they were going to run him, I think, at Gowran, and he was a non-runner. in a race that's working out nicely enough. It was on heavy ground, but yeah, no, it's good. I can very much see that. I do as well. There's one I do like though. Don't Go Yet for Edward Colley, a horse that's been in pretty nice form. I'm just interested to see him back at 2 miles. Really, I'm just not 100% sure he wants much further than that trip. All his best form seems to be at 2 miles, and he just seemed to look like that he kind of got tired. He kind of started wandering at Kilbeggan, which is not a great thing to do because you're constantly on a turn. And you know, he tried to chase down Kilbury Warrior in a handicap hurdle. And look, that's a hard mare to chase down. She's very, very game. Usually goes from the front. Yeah, returning back to 2 miles, I just think he has a very good place chance, and he'd be a strong start that trip. As I said, I don't think he'd want much further, and I think Irish Blaze will give him a nice target to aim at, I suppose. So that would be the one for me, Deck. And you're sticking with Irish Blaze, yeah?
I'd stick with Irish Blaze, yeah.
Happy days. Right, well, we move on then to a really, really interesting beginner's chase. It's the Eventco Marquise Limited Beginner's Chase, and this is over 2.5 miles. Some proper horses have won this race down the years from the Gordon Elliott Yard.
Envoy LN won it.
Envoy LN, yeah. Mighty Potter won it. Lifetime Ambition. Mighty Potter. Did Sam Crow maybe win it? I think I'll have to look that up. I think Sam Crow may have won it too. So yeah, no, a real top draw beginner's chase. Clonmel Mustard ran in 2 chases last year, then picked up a slight knock. Connections decided to go back hurdling then, and he did very well hurdling. Ran off big weights at Kelso and Ayr, and didn't do a whole lot wrong. Only getting beaten 9 lengths by Stateman and Vauban at the Punchestown Festival. I'd say he'd still be very competitive off 148. He has a chase mark of 136. I don't think he's that bad a jumper. Like when you look back on it, he was a little bit sticky on his debut behind Hollow Games, which would have been entitled to do. But he was beaten then 19 lengths by El Fabiolo, with nice enough horses actually in behind that day, Highland Charge and Percy Warner. This horse could be an absolute blot of 136. But they're coming in down to the beginner chase route, which I do find a little bit interesting. Found a 50, he was a lovely hurdler last year. Only just touched off by Corbett's Cross over 2 miles. Found Grade 1 company a little bit too hot at Aintree and Punchestown subsequently, but he's still a young horse and was entitled. He's very much entitled to improve. Lucky Max had a nice string of hurdling form. He got to a mark of 140. And he's had 2 chase starts already in his career. Getting well beat by Life in the Park and Banbridge. So he is a very interesting one in terms that he could be set up for a significantly lesser mark over fences once he just has his run here. And he improved in the meantime over hurdles. That's enough really from me, Deck. I'll pass the baton here to you. What do you see from this race?
I think Found a 50 is the one you want to see win this race. Like the fact that he was, this time last year he was running the bumpers. He was a maiden hurdle winner in January of this year. He's ran in the Grade 1 novice races. Only beat ahead by Corbett's Cross and Ace. Like he's the one with the potential, I think. Clonmel Mustard, he's tried it, hasn't worked out. They've gone back, and look, I love Clonmel Mustard. He's a really, really nice horse, but I don't think he is Grade 1 level. Whereas Found a 50 still has the potential to become a Grade 1 chaser. I think he's the most exciting novice chaser in this race. And I think he's the one I want to see put in a good round and win really, really well. I think he will win.
Okay. I wonder what price he'd be. It'll probably be a shade of odds on, but it kind of... I could say, like, Clonmel Mustard could be disrespected because I know the market might think he went back hurdling by design, but it wasn't. It was because he picked up a knock. And he was behind 2, like, Hollow Games. Okay, fair enough. Like,
I don't think he may not have... To be honest, I don't think
I just think I think going back up to 2.5 miles, I just wouldn't be surprised. I think he could be extremely well handicapped over fences, which is why have my reservations about him on Friday. But if he rocks up at Christmas time off a mark in the mid 130s, I'll very, very happily have a bet on him.
Yeah, but I think found a 50 could be grade 1 class over fences if
Oh
this,
yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah, as a hearing now,
yeah,
yeah, no, I completely get
so
you.
by winning this race, yeah, and look, I would absolutely follow you in on Colonel Mustard over Christmas or in the second half of the season. But in this race, with his profile, only won a maiden hurdle last January. He ran in grade 1 novices. I think he's the most exciting in this race, and hopefully, the horse will improve stones once he goes over fences,
Yeah, and there's lots of options for him. That something like we can probably stop talking about the Drinmore because I think we're getting to the stage now where that race might come up too quick. You do, you probably don't have these guys. The race probably come up a bit quick now, but you have plenty of other options. Like you could see him stretching out to something like the Florida Pearl, extra 2 furlongs up in trip, and then there's loads of options at Christmas. We saw him over 2 miles over hurdles. Now he's beaten by Corbett's Cross, but look, if this lad starts winging fences, you could easily come back and trip. Back to Leopardstown, you go to Limerick. There's loads of options. I'm sure he could even end up in the UK. Gordon Elliott has a lot of novice chasers. He might need to split them up. There's every chance this lad could end up in the UK at some stage as well. So we'll have to see. I'd agree with you. I think Fan 50 will just go win, but I just don't want Colonel Mustard getting penalised too heavily if he does run him close, because I think they're playing with fire. If he has a mark of 136, they need to be careful because, as I said, back up to 2.5 miles. I think I'm not saying you're harsh on his jumping. I just think he jumped maybe a little bit better than people may have thought. And I think that can be exploited in a handicap off a mark in the mid 130s, really. Right, Deck. We'll move on then to the bumper. And this is another race that Gordon Elliott tends to run a hype machine in. American Mike, Better Days Ahead, beaten in this, who we already slated at the top of the
but he's running 2 of last season's bumper horses, so I seen that and I was like, I've no time for this. So.
I could not believe when I saw Firefox in here looking for his third bumper off 12 stone 3. Now, either this horse jumps like, as what you said, a Triceratops, which I honestly couldn't believe it. Like, he was a 4-year-old, like he managed to run in a hurdle as a 4-year-old. And I was there that day and I was really taken by him because he ran green as grass and he took a serious blow when he came in. And he was then beaten by Lachlan, who was a nice bumper horse for Willies, and he came out then and won 2 bumpers subsequently. I don't see why you need to run another one off 12 stone 3. Maybe it's because Elliott has too many horses to get out. Maybe saving them for a bumper.
It's short racing. It's short racing. I just stopped looking at the race. Like the Yellow Clay as well has won 2 bumpers last March. That was last season. Why are they still running the bumpers? Like it's.
They don't need the experience. You would have thought anyway.
No, I think if you win 1 bumper, that's it. You should be out of it. There shouldn't be bumper campaigns. There shouldn't be grade 1 bumpers. I totally appreciate listed bumpers for mares for mares only. I can understand that because we're creating new horses. But for geldings, it makes no sense. I think bumpers are for learning to race. They're not for winning. They're not for ruining horses and asking them to do too much. If you win a bumper, you should be out of them. There should be no bumpers in the spring festivals, grade 1s. What does it mean? What does it mean for a jump gelding to win a grade 1 on the flat? Like it doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't do anything. Because
it does if you own the mare, I suppose. But like, still,
geldings. Look, I would probably support a listed mares bumper final, but we have one at Sandown. There's one at Sandown. Like there's a big one there. If you want
good Irish one at Fairy House as well. So
but I don't understand. And this is where we're getting now. Jump horses going over running on the flat for the second season, and having to carry 12 stone 3. And look, I've no big problem with horses carrying weight. Like, you know, they used to carry lads in suits of armor into war. You know, they can carry 12 stone 3, but this is jump racing. You know, I don't understand it for geldings anyway.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Wrecking Ball Billy, he did it nicely, I thought, at Down Patrick. One, I think he was probably a little bit more value than the winning distance suggested. Question is, can he kind of improve? Can he kind of improve on it? He's only a 4-year-old, but he might have to. Like Firefox and the Yellow Clay did achieve a lot in bumpers last season, but as you're saying, what the hell are we doing? You know, why are they reopposing? Like, why are they in these races? Firefox is probably going to be odds on. I think he probably ran in slightly better bumpers. I know the Yellow Clay did win a listed bumper, but I think Firefox took on a better degree of rival. And with a bit of luck, this is just a quick stepping stone for a hurdling campaign in the very, very near future, because there's no reason why these horses, I don't, as you said, there's no real reason that they should be kind of running in bumpers at this stage of their careers right now. Even if they are only 4 and 5 years old, respectively, they've had enough runs, and yeah, that's enough for that one. All right, Dec, that brings us to the end of our top 7. An hour and 20 minutes. Well, we ran this one quite long, but the racing has been going.
40 minutes a card.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. How are you feeling? Do you have any best bets now, or are you happy with anything that we've?
Look, the ones I mentioned, the handicaps, I would be, be happy to go with. You always surprise me with best bets. Never have to mark out. I should know by now. Look, obviously, I like anything I've selected, but I have mentioned that it wouldn't be a bet for me in some of the races, but the ones in the handicaps, I'm definitely going to be backing myself.
Lovely. Well, I'll be Instit, Master McBlack would be my kind of 2 main ones, I think, at Clonmel. And if I picked out 2 from Down Royal, I would be taking Hunt Museum. I'm going to be a mug. And I do quite like Magical Zoe against Irish Point at the prices. Birdie or Bust and Airdrop do get honourable mentions on the Down Royal card, but they've been my 2 best bets from each meeting. And that brings us to an end, Dec, of top 7. So I do very much appreciate your time. We'll keep plugging away. Top 8 be back very, very quickly with the Saturday at Down Royal. We might even squeeze in our best bets. I'm telling you now. We might even squeeze in our best bets for Gowran Park, which is also on the Saturday. We probably
Nace on Sunday as well. So
Nace, fantastic. And Nace, actually, I believe we're going to get the chasing debut, I think, of Gaelic Warrior, and I think Dysart Dynamo and a few decent 2-milers are making their chasing or seasonal reappearances. So it'd be good. It'd be very, very high class racing. It's getting really into gear now. Very exciting. Looking forward to covering it all as the months go by, and we'll keep getting the winners and we'll keep showing you the pointers for the future. But until then, Dec, that was top 7. Cheers. And very much enjoyed your company. Take it easy, man.
Cheers.